Hello, this is called Level Up Deep Research for Marketing. And here's the cool thing about teaching deep research is a little tricky because deep research takes time. It takes the AI 20, 30 minutes, sometimes and more, to do the deep research. And so, because of that, one of the things we're going to do is real quick here, you're going to go ahead and get your deep research started so that it's running while we go through some other stuff. It's sort of like one of those baking shows where I show you how to make a cake, but then I already have the cake baked. And so I pull it out and I'm like, ooh, look, I already have one done. So I'll show you the deep research as it's completed and you can run yours at the same time. So I'm going to pop out of these slides real quick and show you what we're going to create here with your deep research prompts. And the first one I'm going to show you is this called the voice of the customer. So I used to work for Salesforce.com. And we had something at Salesforce.com, a lot of companies do, called Voice of the Customer, and the CEO and the COO, and this would get distributed out to all of the directors and VPs and everything to read the actual voice of the customer, like read their actual verbatim voice. Super powerful. You can use it in a million different ways, but really a great way to use deep research is to go out there and find the actual voice of the customer. Like go and find people that are complaining, objecting, maybe people that are happy about some product or service that you're interested in researching and get the real voice of the customer. So you can see I went ahead and ran this. I'm going to give you this prompt here in a minute so you can run your own. But you can see I ran this deep research here inside of ChatGPT and it outputted this. And this one took longer. I don't know if it'll tell me how long it took over here, but I would say it took a good 40 minutes to run this guy. And what you end up with when you run this prompt, and I'm going to give it to you in a second, like I said, is you end up with a table full of verbatim quotes. Now, this particular deep research, I ran this on a particular product or service that I'm interested in researching. So I ran it in digital marketing services as the product or service, and I ran the category marketing agency. So I want to see, and then the ICP or persona is, I didn't give it much here, but I just gave it small business owners doing 1 to 20 million in revenue. So what am I saying here? I'm saying I want to hear the voice of the customer, small business owner, and the customer is small business owners doing between 1 and 20 million in revenue that have hired marketing agencies to do digital marketing services. And you're going to be able to put anything you want in there. So if you want to put a physical product in there, like maybe you sell clothing or maybe you sell copywriting services, or maybe it doesn't matter what it is. You could put the product or service in here. You put the category in here and you could delete the category if you want, but I would not delete the product or service or the person you're trying to research. Just give it a little bit on the persona and that, and then if you got a category, that's even better. And then run this prompt. I'm going to give it to you in a second, but if you run this on this criteria, which is digital marketing services in the marketing agency category for small businesses, you end up the way I structured this prompt with this output. So you can look in through here and you can literally read people complaining. So you can see that this is categorized as by sentiment. So some of it's positive. Like this person said about the digital marketing service, the cost was a bit more than we were initially planning, though they were able to show us the value. I don't have time to do it myself. These people will take your hard-earned money and leave you with the same traffic you had. It's really powerful. So why do this? Because at the end of the day, any business and any marketing that we're doing, we have to understand the pain points of the client. We really need to get organized and organize our marketing around the pain, because that's what we're selling. Is we're selling the transformation from this before state where somebody's in pain into this after state where they have some sort of better life or better business or whatever it is. So really all marketing is the articulation of, right, that transformation from this pain state into this pleasure state. And so getting clear on what is the pain, what does it look like when somebody's happy? What does it look like? What do they say? What are the literal words that they use to describe pain and pleasure when it comes to this product or service? And when you get this out and you can then use it. And I'm going to talk about how to structure one of these deep research prompts so that you get real useful information back. That's going to be part of today. And I'm going to give you these prompts so you can run them on any product or service that you want to run. But when you scroll through here and the first table that this deep research puts out is just the raw verbatim voice of the customer. I want you to go out there and find the actual words and give it to me verbatim. Just copy it, paste it into this table for me, and organize it in a way that's useful. And I can read through here and I can find a lot of good, useful chunks of information here that I might want to use. Our account manager was an absolute pleasure. We have been able to save a lot as we hardly hire full-time SEO specialists, right? So they don't have to go in-house, right? They don't have to bring an in-house SEO in because they've got the agency. They promoted our brand online and brought our success to our organization by increasing sales and profits. They have provided us a stable increase in traffic for many years. Probably not going to make a difference. I don't really need it. Networking is enough to sustain me. And so that's like an alternative this person's got. It's a bit costly. That's to be expected. Now, the second table that I have this deep research prompt create is where it gets really useful. So what we do is we structure all of this raw voice, right? So just all this sort of like raw voice of the customer here. And I said, now I want you to take this and create a second table with the messaging angles that we could use in our marketing. So we take the core pain. This is basically like clustered pain. It's like summarizing, like a lot of these are saying the same thing, over and over again, like it cost too much or it was disappointing or they didn't do this or they didn't do that or I'm mad about this or I'm happy about that. And what we're looking to do is get that into some kind of useful format so we can use it for ads and email subject lines and headlines on landing pages and wherever else, right? So what we want to do is take this and structure it in a way that's useful to us as marketers and business owners. So the second table is really where it's at, where we start to get the AI to help us start to put together some structured angles that we can start to use over and over again in our marketing and position ourselves. And what's cool about this is that we are working from real pain, right? Like we've done the research, or the AI has done the research to find the real voice of the customer and then turn that into hooks and angles. So look at this one, for example, is the core pain is the cost is insane for a business of my size. Okay. So that's kind of the verbatim cluster here is cost. And then here's a promise that this person might respond to. This could be an email subject line, it could be a headline, it could be you can get into the hook, no more insane costs. Hero, like the headline, business growth that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Bullets, so we won't drain your budget, you get more for less. And the cool thing about this is that when we start to get a bunch of these in here, you can see that we're getting a lot in here. And really, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a lot so that I can use my brain to say, I want to use that. Out of these 10 ideas that you gave me, that one really fits this business and it's something I want to run with. And so I can take one of these and I can start to expand on it. I could build more around it. I can, create entire campaigns around it using my AI and my own brain to kind of go back and forth. But this is great raw material that can lead to great advertising, great landing pages, great emails, anything you want to think about. Anytime we're communicating with our market, we want to be sticking to pain and we want to be sticking to solving pain. You guys this isn't new for you guys. You guys are, marketers. So what I'm telling you is right, but it's hard sometimes to get organized around pain. And this is how one way you can do it, right? Is you run a deep research prompt that I'm going to give you. You put in and you go get the voice of the customer, and then automatically this prompt is going to convert this into structured messages, angles. And then towards the end today, if I have time, I'll sort of show you how to start expanding on some of this stuff as well. But I think a lot of you are probably looking at this saying, well, that's kind of gold right there. Like that stuff is gold. When you start to get good, solid messaging angles out of your AI that you can use. So that's one prompt we're going to run today. And I really wanted to sort of keep a theme today. So this one that I just showed you is about finding the voice of the customer. This one is about finding the angles and hooks that your competitors are using already. So you can run these at the same time today on any business that you want to run, or you can just use the examples that I have and just to get the experience of running these deep research prompts. But these two together, you've got the voice of your customer and your ideal customer, and you've got the voice, the sort of angles that your competitors are already using. Like what are they using that is working? So if we go back and look at this one, the three companies, I stuck with marketing agency just because it's easy to understand, and maybe a lot of us provide marketing services in this group, and so I just gave it three marketing agencies to research and say, what are they using? Like, what angles are they using in their ads, in their emails, in their landing pages, on their homepage? What are the angles and messages and pain points that they are addressing in their marketing? I want to see it. And so I run this prompt. I'll give this one to you as well. And again, I want this to come out in a usable format. I don't want some big long report that I have to read for all afternoon to try to get any sort of usefulness out of it. So I have it return this in a table that I can then pop through here and say, okay, like web effects on the landing page, here's the angle that they're using, and then here's the link, right, to that. And then repeat, repeat, repeat for these three competitors. I want to see what is the angles they're using and where. Like, are they using it on LinkedIn? Are they using it on meta ads? Are these on a homepage, some landing page, some service page? And I can change this prompt so that I just investigate one competitor. I could make a list of 10 competitors. I could change this prompt any way that I want. But right now, I'm going to show you how to do this. If you want to just copy and paste it, you will run it and you get a very similar feedback as this. Does this make sense? Okay. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to give you, Angela, if you want to pop the link in there so that they can get access to this document here, which is going to contain the two deep research prompts. You can pop that into the chat right now, and then people can follow me as I run deep research real quick here. Be able to put that in there. Okay. So Angela just popped in a link, and that link, when you click on that Google Drive link, and if you're listening to this as a recording, it'll be below this video, either in the description or right underneath this video. You'll be able to find the assets. But I want you to get access to this document here. You can also grab the deck that I'm going to go through in a minute. But what I really want you to get access to is this assets document. Here, you just open that up and you'll click File, Make a Copy. So you just make your own copy of this so that you can throw it on your Google Drive, and then you can edit it and you can share it with other people if you want, stuff like that. So you got file, make a copy. All right. So there are two deep research prompts in here. As I said, one does competitor messaging research and one does voice of customer. Let's start with the competitive mapping. So you can see the DR, competitive mapping. DR stands for deep research. And you see this big honking prompt in here. And let's run this guy, and then we'll come back and look at the prompt so that we can kind of get a sense of why the prompt is built the way it is, so that I think you'll be able to build your own prompts going forward. But right here on this page, you see this prompt. And if you, just to repeat, go to file and make a copy so you have your own copy of this document. Otherwise, you won't be able to edit it and you won't be able to do some of the things that I'm going to show you today. So make a copy. Now, the other thing I want you to do is go to Tools, Preferences, and make sure that that box is ticked, Enable Markdown. Enable Markdown. Now, this is the most technical thing that we do here at TheCLICK is we use Markdown. I'll explain that as we go, but don't worry too much about it. For now, just go to Tools, Preferences, and Enable Markdown. And when you do that, what'll happen is if you select all of this prompt, this big old long prompt, I use a Command A on a Mac. I don't know what you do on a PC. I haven't used a PC in a long time. So, but if you select all of this prompt, all of it, and then you right click or click the edit button on in the menu up there in Google Docs, I usually right click and you copy as Markdown. Copy that as Markdown. So I'll repeat this for just a second. Make sure you go to Tools, Preferences, and Enable Markdown. Come back in here, select all of this, right click, and copy as Markdown. I would go into ChatGPT, and you can just go into a new chat And what we're going to do is we're going to click the little plus sign and we're going to turn on deep research mode. This basically turns ChatGPT into an agent, and that agent is going to run a specific type of AI function called deep research, where it's going to go out there and scour the internet looking to solve the problem that you've given it in the prompt. And all we're going to do is paste that prompt in, and it's going to come in a little bit goofy looking. It's going to have hash marks on it and asterisks around it, and that's good. That's a good thing. So that's that markdown showing the AI where the headings are in here, where the bullets are. And the biggest thing of all is it's showing the AI that there is a table in this prompt. You can see that table really looks goofy to you and I, but it's straight butter for the AI. It totally understands this markdown table. So it's just a very simple, primitive language, basically, or a piece of code, if you want to call it that. I mean, it's not even code. You can sort of see what's going on in there, but it preserves all that formatting. And then I'm just going to run the prompt. So I'm going to run it. And every single time you run a deep research prompt, at least as the time of recording this, it's going to ask you some questions all the time. Even if you create the most best prompt on planet, it's going to ask you to clarify some things. So I'm going to go with, and what I usually do is I just answer these questions however I want. And it does improve things because it takes a little bit. There's a couple of things where it's like, I'm not sure about this and this and this. Like, if you clarify that, then I'm going to go do the research. This one, yours will be different, but mine says, are there any specific date ranges? Since this is competitive research, I'm going to say prioritize recent campaigns. There are no correct answers to this. This is basically just, what do you want? Should I prioritize ad performance or just presence? Don't prioritize ad performance. And then number 3 is, would you like to limit to US market placements? It almost always asks this one. And I'm going to say, yes, stick to US market. And then now that I've answered these, I'm going to go ahead and feed that back in, and it's going to start its research. So you're going to see starting research there, and it's going to start rocking and rolling. Now we're going to repeat this process for the second prompt. So we go back into the assets folder there, or into the assets document, and you'll see that second prompt there is called DR Voice of Customer Research. I'm going to open that one. Again, you can see a table. There's a big table in here. So we definitely want to use Markdown for this, because otherwise the AI won't see that table. If you just copy this thing as we normally do and paste it in there, the table won't come across. It'll get stripped out, and the AI won't return the results back the way you want them to, or at least the way I've asked it to. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of this again. I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy as Markdown. I'm going to open a new tab in ChatGPT. So I've got this one running here, and I've got a new chat here. I'm going to turn on deep research, and I'm going to run my prompts, paste it in there. There's my little hash marks showing that these are headings, and all that markdown's in here. There's my crazy looking table. But the AI knows what that table means. It knows what it says. I'm going to run this deep research prompt. It's going to ask me my obligatory set of questions. Let's go with any specific competitors. I'm going to say no specific competitors. Should I prioritize any particular types of marketing? No priority on marketing services. And then 3D, want me to focus on US. It always asks this, doesn't it? This time I'm going to say global is fine. So you can see there's no like nothing magical about what I'm doing necessarily. I'm just answering the questions, and then I'm going to run that, and it's going to go off and start that voice of customer research. So what's happening, let's go back over to this one here, is you can actually see the agent working. So it's like I'm gathering marketing hooks and messaging from WebFX, Ignite Visibility, and Client Boost, prioritizing recent campaigns. And so now it's searching the meta ad library, and it's like, it starts to tell you what it's doing. And this is what we mean by an agent, right? So it's going to go do things. Well, first thing it does, make a plan. Then it starts to execute the plan. If it learns something and goes back to the plan, it might edit that plan. So it learns as it goes, and it makes changes to its plan as it moves forward until it ultimately feels like, okay, I've got what I need in order to output what the user wants, the user being you and I. and I'm done. And I'm going to just release the report. But other than that, you're going to see that this thing's just going to sit here and work. It's not going to, it's just some sort of a little bit of a finality to running a deep research prompt in that you really can't change what's going on with it uh, until it comes back. Yeah, actually, they've been playing around with this. Um, where you can start to talk to it. It looks like this works a little bit differently today than the last time I played with it. That you can sort of, um, if you see it doing something, you're like, no, 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 it's doing the wrong thing. That you could edit that. But there is some kind of finality to running a deep research prompt. Like once it's going, it's kind of like the AI is just off doing what you asked it to do. So you want to get your prompt in a position where you feel good about it, right? Like you're like, okay, I think that's going to get me what I want. So let's go through while these are running this deck that I have really quickly to talk a little bit about why deep research is powerful from an AI standpoint.
Well,
if my
uh, Katie Joe has a question.
Mhm. Kathy Joe, what is it? I ran. So she says I ran into a response from ChatGPT when doing research that it was blocked. Okay, so yeah, I mean that deep research can only research publicly available information plus anything that you're able to sort of get it access to. Plus, what's starting to happen is that the different AI labs are starting to make deals with people that have data and information behind paywalls and behind login walls, right? So they're starting to make deals with, data providers that are like, I have this whole, trove of information back here that's not available on the public web that you could make available to your deep research or to your AI. They're doing this with a lot of publishers and third party companies. But for now, I mean, you're really just going to get what's publicly crawlable and seeable by anybody. The advantage of this is not that you couldn't go pull this research together yourself. The advantage is how fast it's able to do it for you and how thorough it will be. If the prompt's set up right, it's going to be extremely thorough. Like for example, I've been doing this stuff for 20 years, so I've hired researchers to do work like this. Typically, you're looking at a week of turnaround time before that researcher is going to get you back a report like I would get here. This is the reason why this is sort of a game changing technology is that I can run a good research prompt and have that information back in my hands in 30 minutes versus a week or whatever it is. So, but yeah, it's not going to go in behind paywalls, logins, things like that and find anything. It's going to stay to the publicly crawlable web unless you've got it connected to something, some sort of external data source. Well, let's get into the problems of AI, like why people have problems. I published this, let's see if my slides load. There it goes. I published it on LinkedIn yesterday, or looks like 2 days ago. And this is something to pay attention to is that a lot of people think that the fact that they're using AI is sort of like checking a box. It's like if I'm using the tools, like I'm in of this trend here. Everybody's using these tools. Any reasonable marketer or business person is using AI. The advantage is not using the tools. The advantage is learning how they work and actually being able to get good information out of them. And so I kind of made this cartoon using Gemini here, but kind of a joke here. But we do get output like this all the time from AI if we don't know how to use it properly. We get basically garbage or useless output. It says to increase revenue, acquire more customers who pay you money, right? That's sort of like saying, if you want to win the football game, score more points than the other team, right? Like, well, duh. And so we get this sort of like useless output out of AI a lot if we don't know how to actually master these tools. That's the gap. The gap is not I use the tool. The gap is that I am a master of the tool. I know how to use these tools very, very well. And the way you figure out if you know how to use these tools is pretty simple. Are you getting like real business results out of using AI? Or are you just sort of, got a bunch of half baked projects in there or lots of starts and stops where it's like, I don't know, I'm not getting anything from this. Like it's not leading to actual work that pays me money. So if your answer is, yeah, I rarely get anything really out of AI, you need to be honest with yourself about that as to whether you're actually getting real value out of this or are you just sort of dabbling around and playing with it. And if you're not getting real business output from it, then you're actually better off not using it at all, right? It's a kind of a waste of your time. So this is why I provide AI training, is because I believe everybody needs to know how to use these tools. Like, and the big problems that we run into when we don't have our AI structured properly, we don't understand how to use the tools. The first one's called the cold start. The cold start is where every single time I start, I have to start over. I have to begin from the beginning. I got to re-explain things. I got to tell it what we're working on. I got to keep it going. The opposite of this is that you log in to your AI, it knows what you're working on. You don't need to tell it who you sell to. You don't need to tell it what their pain points are or what you sell or who you are or any of that stuff is already baked in. And so you start, boom, it's like, are you ready to pick back up on this project that you're working on, this promotion that you're working on, this whatever that project is that you're working on, or projects more likely that you're working on? It's constantly with you and maintains that memory from session to session. That's the cold start problem. The second problem is the boiled chicken problem. Boiled chicken problem is this problem right here. To increase revenue by 500%, acquire more customers that pay you money. Like, that's over the top exaggeration of the boiled chicken that we can get back from AI, but it's not too far, right? If you just go in and you don't have your AI structured properly, you're probably getting a lot of boiled chicken back, and it's kind of useless. It's kind of garbage. It's perfectly right. Like, this statement is perfectly right. If you want to increase revenue, get more people to pay you money, right? Like, that's perfectly reasonable response. It's just not very helpful. It's not very useful. And it's because of what I'm going to explain to you. There's a solution to this problem. The last one is the drunk uncle problem. The drunk uncle is when the AI forgets, it goes off the rails, it does unpredictable things, it hallucinates things, it just, and you're just like, what the heck's going on? Like, what happened to my AI? And they're all solvable by the same solution, which is to structure your AI properly and understand how it works under the hood so that you're consistently getting warm starts or hot starts, right? It's like, let's get rocking, like, let's get to work, right? And your efficiency goes through the roof. The boiled chicken problem gets solved too, and you start to get outputs that actually lead to outcomes that generate revenue for you and your company. And then the drunk uncle gets reduced to almost zero. Like, I very, very rarely have a drunk uncle problem anymore, simply because I've learned the mechanics of how AI works. And the biggest thing I can communicate to you is that we need to be grounding our AI. This is what solves all three of those problems, is that we need to anchor the AI in trusted sources. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Consider this tree, right, to be your AI, and we want to ground it. We want it to be referencing things like attachments that we have brought to the party, right? Web search. So go look at this web page, go look at this site, go ground yourself in that fact, in that trusted source. I'll skip this one. Custom instruction, knowledge bases, and external data, right? So things like your CRM, can we ground that AI into data inside your CRM, inside your email platform, et cetera? But the one we're going to focus on today is deep research. It's a great way to ground an AI, is to create a corpus of information, say, let's work with this here. So I created a prompt. I want it to go out there. I want it to pull together this research, and then I'm going to ground into that and use it as the basis to get some stuff done. Like, I mean, this is a fancy, if you don't use this voice of customer research to create more marketing and sell more, then it's just a parlor trick. It's just a trick. It's just, wow, I can pull all that together. And there it is. It's like, I can see that. The trick is to get, it's the next step, right? So the next step is, let's go and apply that. Let's go and use some of these subject lines. Let's go and build a landing page with this messaging. Let's go build some ads. Let's go, whatever, create a webinar around something or a social media post that addresses some pain point. That's when you start to get real out, so you're taking really useful output from your AI. It's grounded in some source of fact and truth. And then you're taking it that next step, which is to start to use it in your marketing to grow the business. All right. So grounding is the reason you get, it's a lack of grounding is the reason you get boiled chicken, you get cold starts, and you get drunk uncles popping up in your AI. And we're going to show you deep research today, or we already have started showing you deep research today. So you can also grab this deck at the same link that we dropped into the chat, or if you're watching this in a recording, look below this video or in the description for the link to the assets for this training. So let's go back to the prompts themselves, because when it comes to deep research, the prompt matters. The prompt matters. You've probably, if you've been paying attention to the way I teach AI, you've heard me probably say that like this isn't about some big long prompt. Like prompts are not that important. What you really need is to structure your AI properly and then just talk to it the way you would talk to to anybody, right? Like just walk it to where you want it to go. But when you run deep research, because there's sort of this final moment where you say, go and run the research, like go. The prompt matters. Like the way you structure the prompt ends up mattering because there is no iteration really after that. It's going to go off and do what you asked it to do. So let's walk through this prompt and the second prompt and see how I set it up the way I did and why I set it up the way I did. So let's look at the voice of customer one first. Remember that outputs this prompt when I run it outputs the pain. Well, let's go up. It first outputs the raw verbatim voice of customer. So just give me the straight copy paste of what people are saying out there about this product that are a member of this particular persona. So in our case, it was, if you remember, it was small businesses doing 1 to 20 million. What are they saying about marketing agencies that are providing digital marketing services? And so it comes back and it gives me all that raw information, which is interesting and it's good to read, right? You probably find some little shiny nuggets in there that you can use in your marketing. But it's really the second table that will contain some gold because of the way I had it organized to give me the core pain at the top. And what's the customer language like in terms of, the promise around this? And then what is the hook here? What is a possible headline I might want to use here? And then what are some possible support bullets that go along with that hook, promise, pain, headline, etc. You can see that. Let's see here. So look at this one, for example. I've been doing marketing services for a long time, and there's a lot of people out there that have been burned before. If you're providing marketing services, I'm sure you've run into these people that are like, well, I got screwed, man. I got screwed by somebody on this already before. And so a headline like, or a promise like, hey, we have transparent marketing with no smoke and mirrors, right? Using that as a subject line, using that as a headline, using that as an ad. It speaks directly to a real pain point that if you're in this market, that these customers have. And getting yourself organized, getting your marketing organized around real pain is so powerful, so that it's not what the hell should I write about, or what headline should I use? Should I just make something up? Like, I guess I got to write a headline now, or I got to write a subject line, or I got to write an email, or I got to write a social media post. No, like go organize your communications around real pain, so that you're always speaking to real pain, and you'll find that you're going to get a lot more people saying, oh, okay, like I understand what you're saying. Like I want to listen to what you're saying. Like transparent sounds good. The last time I did this, I got scammed, right? Felt like a complete scam. So we'll come back to this and play more with how to expand on stuff like this. But let's go back to the prompt and look at how the prompt is structured in order to get this output. Because what I'm all about at TheCLICK is showing you, like, I want to give you these prompts. Like you can see I already have, like, here's the prompt. And that's probably cool. And maybe some of you are like, ooh, I'm glad I got this prompt. But the real power is understanding why the prompt was built the way it was, so that you could go build any prompt you want, right? That you could start to think, well, what else could I do? What else could I have it research? What else could I have it create? How can I change this prompt to meet my circumstances or the circumstances of a client? And so that's really what I want. I mean, I really want you to understand how this stuff works, rather than sort of a, I want to teach you to fish rather than just give you the fish, but I also give you the fish here. So you can use this prompt just as it is. If you look at it, it starts with an objective. And the reason I do that is just to set the tone. Like, what the heck are you talking to me about? Of course, this AI is going to read this and say, okay, I'm a research analyst. I need to extract verbatim language from public customer conversations. I don't want marketers speak. I don't want you to invent anything. And then the next one, I don't always have this because I usually have this for prompts that I give to other people so that they can customize it for their own situation. But you can change this product or service to anything. So we have a click member. I don't know if she's here or not, who sells bereavement gifts. Is that how you spell bereavement? Oh, I guess there we go. Gifts. So the product service bereavement gifts, the category would be, let's call it e-commerce. And the ICP is, let's just call it bereaving family members who have lost a loved. So that would change the output quite. Right now I've got a voice of customer here about people complaining about marketing services. Well, if I change these two inputs or these three inputs to I sell bereavement gifts e-commerce to bereaving family members who lost a loved one, that's going to completely change my output. It's going to be all about bereavement gifts and like what are people complaining about bereavement gifts and e-commerce bereavement gift companies and so on. And I promise you that you're going to find lots of good marketing hooks and angles and different pain points that you can use when you do that. So that's the objective in the inputs. And then for deep research, it can be very smart to tell it where to go look. And this is another place that you can adjust your prompt. You might find that ChatGPT, for example, is Victoria here today. She always talks about how annoying it is that it goes to Reddit. Yeah. That, and I don't know. So Victoria always talks about how she gets annoyed because ChatGPT goes too heavy on Reddit. You could literally just either remove Reddit or you could tell it explicitly, do not use Reddit as your source. Like you can say whatever you like, you know, but you could change the different sources that you want to use there. And then the method, this would probably be something you would be less likely to change, but maybe you would want to. But it's basically a pretty simple output here. Collect a bunch of raw customer sentiment, tag it all, like get it all organized and cluster it, like find the relationship between the different snippets, and then create the second table, which is the structured messaging angles. And now here's the most important part of any prompt like this, and that is the expected output or the examples, right? Showing what good looks like. So showing the AI, what does good look like? What do you want? What do I expect to come out? And so you can see here, it's like, hey, here is some example output that's just going to show the basic idea of what I want back. So it's not the real output that I want, but I want it in this format. And this is really important. And it's kind of comes back to something. If you're a member of the CLICK Pro, who in here is already a member of the CLICK Pro? And Kim, I'll get to your question in a second about why not Reddit. But I think the basic idea is and this was a while ago, it was just going so heavy on Reddit that it was like, how about some other sources? And I think Victoria was talking about she didn't necessarily want Reddit results in there. But how many of you guys are members of the CLICK Pro? Because we are going to be teaching. I'm very excited about this. I'm going to be doing a two different days. I'm be doing a 90-minute 2 days, a workshop on creating email newsletters using AI. So not just let's build a newsletter and the basic stuff around like why newsletters and how to structure a newsletter, an email newsletter. And these dates are not firm yet in terms of the workshop dates. But if you're a member of the CLICK Pro, we're going to be doing this starting next week sometime to build an email newsletter that increases leads and sales. But how do you do it using AI? Like, how do you use it? How do you do it using AI? And the process that I'm going through today about deep research it's sort of similar. This page is not live yet on my site, but I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up that we're going to be launching this email newsletter workshop. It's around, how do you go about using AI to do this very specific thing. Very powerful marketing asset to add to a client or to your own business is an email newsletter. The biggest reason people don't use newsletters is because they take a while to put together and do it right. But AI cuts it down by 80%. And I've been running newsletters my whole career. We've run newsletters, and AI reduces the workload of building good newsletters by 80%. So it sort of makes it so it's like actually do have time to create this very powerful asset, which is a newsletter. And so I completely go through the process of building a newsletter using AI. It's very similar to this, which is that we want to create a very, very predictable output. I don't want the AI to have to guess as to how I want this information to be returned back to me. And so in the prompt, go back to this prompt. In the prompt, I literally just say, hey, here's exactly how the output should look. And it's maybe the most important part of the prompt. It probably is the most important part of the prompt, except telling it the objective. You'd be shocked if I gave it just the objective and the inputs and just gave it the example output. It just said, this is what it should look like when it's done. It would probably invent the rest of the middle part of this. Like and it would nail it. That's how important it is to be showing examples of what good looks like. And it's different for different prompts, right? How do you want this output to come back to you? And I've been very clear with it. I want you to create this table and I want you to create this table. And I gave it examples and put real things in there. I use AI to help me build these examples too. And I use my own brain and I say, no, that's a bad example. I want you to put something else in there. Like you do this or do that. And this expected output section is very key. It's very key to how I'm going to be teaching you email newsletters. Where do I get information for email newsletters? Where does the source material come from? And how do I structure it to come back to me in a way that's useful? This could plus several other things is what cuts 80% of the time of creating an email newsletter out using AI. In this case, I'm asking it for tables to come back. You can see how useful this is in this format versus how many of you guys have run deep research and you get back this report that's 8 miles long and you're just like, what the heck is this? It's not useful. It's a giant trove of information. There's probably tons of great nuggets in there. But in this case, I just head it off. I say, hey, I want this to come back in a useful table. I want you to take it and give me the pain points, the promise, and the hooks. And then I can take it from here and keep working on a hook. I could take one of these 10 that I like and I can start to build something around it. If I look at the other prompt in here, it's structured pretty much the same way. It's got the objective and it's got the inputs. In this case, it's the competitors that I want it to research and find their marketing angles. And then I have the scope here. Like I want you to look at the hooks and messaging from paid ads, landing pages, and social posts. Now you could change this. If you go to file and make a copy, you can make changes to this. I have some non-negotiables here that I want them to give me. I don't want it to hallucinate anything. So I want it to give me the URL so I can go check things. I want to get verbatim capture. I don't want you to just like summarize what they said, like bring it over as it is or as close to it as it is as you can, and give it a little bit of what to collect. But the real thing here is at the end is this same most important section of the prompt, which is what does a good output look like? Give it a real example. And what you'll find is that the AI becomes extremely, if not 100% predictable as to what you're going to get back. I mean, you can see I have competitor name, source, platform, hook, angle, primary, right? That's what I told it to do. And this is what I get back in my table. So rather than get back some big, crazy long report about these three companies and how they're positioned, I head that off and I say, I want this in a table and I want it transformed into, I don't want you to just go and find the messaging, but I want you to convert that into a working hook. I want you to give me the angle. I want to know the primary promise. I want to know the pain point. And all of this can be used. I can use different sections of this And now I've got sort of a scannable section here. So we're down to the last 5 minutes today. I'm going to go in here and just sort of show you how I might take this a step further and use this research. So we had this one where it was like, feels like a complete scam. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to highlight that pain point and I'm going to click on Ask ChatGPT. So this is a really great way to cut a lot of time out of what you're doing with your AI. A lot of times it gives you a whole bunch of stuff back. Some of it you need, some of you don't. But you're able to click on something like Ask ChatGPT and watch what happens down here in my input box. When I click this, it's going to push that information into my input box. So now it knows that I'm working on this particular information. Out of all the stuff it gave back, I want to talk to it about this. So I'm going to just give you like a very basic prompt that I might use from here. It might be something like, let's create a 3-day email campaign centered around this pain point set of hooks. I might ask it to just plan the email storyboard in a table. So I call this a storyboard. That's how I was taught to do email marketing, is use a storyboard to plan. I'm not going to go into like what should be in a storyboard or any of that, but like, let's just see how it does with this. It's going to take this pain point right here and start to transform this thing using it's grounded in my deep research. It's grounded. So you can see that I'm going to get a much better output. I'm not getting boiled chicken anymore. I'm getting real useful stuff that I can use where I say, okay, like let's take this singular pain point here and let's run a campaign around this. Like maybe I could have just as easily said, let's build some ads or let's build a landing page based on this pain point. Let's build whatever. Doesn't matter. Let's build a webinar around it. Let's build a video around it. Let's build a podcast or a episode around it. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that I'm grounded, right? That I use deep research. I went out there, found the voice of the customer, its raw voice, transformed that using that deep research quote into a table. It's extremely useful. Transformed it into hooks and angles and promises and different things that I can use, like literally use, then highlighted one of those and take it down the line into some real asset that's going to actually make me some money or make my client some money. Does that make sense? Cool. I want to hear your questions. I'm here for the next, if you've got some questions, that's it for the formal training part of this. Keep an eye out for this. If you're not a member of the Click Pro, we'd love to have you. We're going to be doing email newsletters next week and the week after that, and building more and more assets using these types of strategies. If you look at the Click Pro page and you go to the click.ai and you click on the Click Pro, you can see how we think about business growth and marketing today and how AI is impacting it and what you can do to become the smartest AI marketer in the room, which is what we all need to be doing. Every business owner, we need to not just be using these tools, but really mastering them. All right. So, questions. We got Diane. How does this apply to the project client thread structure? Diane, I love that question. See you, Marty. Good to see you, man. Okay, so how does this apply to the project client thread structure? So Diane asked a question because Diane's a member of the Click Pro, and she knows that we have at the Click Pro, we have a training called Growth OS. And Growth OS is about structuring your ChatGPT account in a way that it eliminates the cold start, it obliterates the boiled chicken problem, it chases the drunk uncle out the front door and back home where you can sleep it off. And we use Growth OS to do this. We use a combination of ChatGPT projects, GPTs, and all of that kind of stuff. And so what Diane's asking, and some of you might also be wondering if you're Click Pro members, is like, how does this work inside of the Growth OS structure? And the answer is simple. You should run these prompts inside of your marketing project. It will be better. Like your AI will be better. So for me, like if I wanted to go and run this, I would go to grab this deep research prompt around voice of customer, highlight the whole thing, copy it as markdown, take it back into ChatGPT. And this time, rather than run it in a new chat, which is what rookies do, rookies work in new chats, I take it down into a marketing project that has existing context, right? Like my personas and all that stuff, the way we structure it in Growth OS training in the Click Pro. And I would run this deep research prompt inside my marketing project so that it has all of my context. Plus, I can keep organized around. So you can see this is what it looks like when you organize your AI. I could probably do some deleting and some renaming of stuff. You can see, this is me building a page, wireframing something here. But I do all of this in my strategic planning. It lives inside of this project. And I also do promo planning and other things inside of my marketing project. You can see my newsletter project. Uh, is organized more around the issue, right? Issue 8. For a while there, I was naming threads by the date, but I want to do all of my newsletter building inside of here. And if I'm running deep research for newsletter purposes, which we will be doing in that training, we'll be running deep research for newsletter purposes. We would do it inside of our newsletter project so that it has access to everything and everything's staying organized. The other question. So, how different is this from the Growth OS course? So, Jules, the voice of customer research that we do in Growth OS was really designed to create the next step, which is what I call a pain pleasure persona. So, the pain pleasure persona, which we build in Growth OS, is a persona document. It's probably the most powerful document that you can give to any AI that you're trying to use for marketing. It's a persona document that contains all of the pain and pleasure states of your persona, which is precisely what an AI needs and what you need. So it's your eye, your human intelligence, plus your AI really intimately understands the pain and pleasure states of your customer. Your AI becomes just so fabulous at creating angles and hooks and campaigns and campaign structure and creating copy and content. When it doesn't have that information, it's not as good. So in Growth OS, we build something called a pain pleasure persona, and we begin that process by doing voice of customer. And in that case, I'm organizing the deep research in a different way, which is to create these pain and pleasure state table that we use in that persona. So I don't know if I could pull this up. Let me go into my marketing folder. So this is my persona that's attached here, and you can kind of see it 'cause it's in markdown. It's a little hard to read, obviously, because it's in markdown, but this is a pain pleasure persona document, and it's super powerful. And we build that in Growth OS as well. It's a very, very powerful document to feed your AI. All right, guys, keep an eye out for this email newsletter module that I'm adding to the Growth OS training, which is going to show us how to build awesome newsletters with incredible speed. You do this for clients, you can do this for your own company, and it's coming out next week. You'll be hearing about it from me. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Yerman. Thanks, everybody, for coming today. And we'll see you on the next training.